sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family. And as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now through November 23rd, enjoy boneless ribeye roast. Choice for $19.99 per pound. Prime for $29.99 per pound. Fresh ham loaf, $4.49 per pound. Bush Light 30 racks, $17.99 each when you buy two. And bakery fresh pies, $9.99 each when you also buy two. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Rain, snow, or shine, John Henry's is here to keep your home's plumbing systems working properly no matter what kind of weather Nebraska throws at us. From unclogging toilets and drains to installing new water heaters and water treatment systems, John Henry's is your plumbing expert in the Lincoln and Omaha communities. Visit us at calljh.com or call
John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
It seems like just the other day, I was building my first house. I've seen many changes to our building market in Lincoln. It's been a fun road.
Bob Benish is the founder and president of Aspen Builders, online at aspenbuildersinc.com.
You know, we hear this a lot where I don't want to live in a cookie cutter home. Well, let's come up with some answers on what we're going to build, where we're going to build it, and what it's going to cost. One thing that we started doing early on was we started building neighborhoods. I'm a firm believer in character in your street and in your neighborhood. I like choice. I like variation. I like maybe something a little bit different in a neighborhood that you don't see in every neighborhood. I think it's great to have choices, its uniqueness, and I think that's what gives a neighborhood character. And I think that's what we've done over the years.
Make your dream home a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
MWR is dedicated to building attractive, affordable steel buildings that exceed your expectations. From commercial to residential to agriculture storage, steel buildings are cost-effective, attractive, and versatile. Plus, they're a lasting investment and an ideal choice. MWR uses Sentinel Building Systems out of Albion and can service you all over the state and region. If you have interest in a steel building, post-frame building, or fencing, give MWR a call today at 402-980-5273 or go to mwrbuildingandfence.com.
What's it take to be a mentor with big brothers, big sisters? It takes 30 minutes and a cup of coffee. A video game, best 2 out of 3. It takes sharing thumbs up emojis, clapping emojis, and loaded nachos at halftime. That's how you make an impact on a young kid's life. So go on, share a few hours a month, because mentorship may sound huge, but the truth is, it takes little to be big. To learn more, volunteer, or donate, go to bebignow.org.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, the #1 fastest growing GMC dealer in the Omaha and Lincoln area. We are going to keep this train rolling in a big way with new half-ton and 4x4 pickup trucks starting at $12,500 off list price or 0% financing. You heard that right, $12,500 off list price or 0% financing. You pick which one works better for you. Please stop on in the dealership and meet the team or check us out at koppelcars.com. Stock number C280930. All deals with approved credit.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
All right, Lincoln, if you're a diesel technician who's ready to earn up to $40 an hour and you're tired of working nights and weekends, listen up. Inland Truck Parts and Service is hiring experienced diesel technicians right here in Lincoln, and they're offering what every hardworking tech wants. Monday through Friday hours, no nights, no weekends, and paid training on advanced diesel technology. With 37 locations across 12 states, career advancement opportunities are endless. Start building towards your future and apply today at inlandtruck.com. That's inlandtruck.com. Or text APPLY to 785-369-1320.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Welcome in to the Corner 3, taking you around the arc of college basketball. From the NAAC to the Pac-12, the WCC to the SWAC. We cover it all now on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Austin Oerman.
Oh, welcome in. It is indeed the Corner 3 podcast, 93.7 Ticket, ticketfm.com. With you, as always, Austin Oerman. And making his return, Jacob Bigelow. Welcome back, Biggs.
It's becoming a regular. Am I a regular now?
I believe
is this
so.
my weekly regular venture? I think we can put labels on it now.
I believe so.
I think we can make it official. But yeah, no, good to be here, man. Good to be with you. It's been an interesting last few days of hoop, and it's feast week now, so there's even more fun to come. I was at the Gretna Outlet Mall today on my trying to get an early start on Christmas shopping on my lunch break, and there's the Charleston, whatever the Charleston tournament is, just on the big TV outside, and I'm just like kind of tempted to just sit down, watch some hoop while it's cold and rainy, but nonetheless it is feast week, and I'm happy to be here, man.
And unfortunately, we also have to say something to the effect of, and what's that Maui tournament now too?
Yeah, no, I don't. So I'm in a tough spot with Maui because a program that's really near and dear to my heart is in Maui next year, and there have been some early discussions, about making some room in the budget, to go get there, for the first time, and the Maui discourse has definitely bummed me out. People have gone fully, it's just a massive inconvenience. It throws your team off. Why even go? And I'm just like,
shut up, Dan Hurley.
Like, look at how they massacred my boy. Like, look at how they massacred the Maui Invitational. But yeah, and then there's whatever. Yeah. And that's in part due to what's going to be going on in Vegas at the start of next week. But yeah, there's Maui. And hopefully, it still exists next year because a team that I'm pretty close to is supposed to be there, and I'd like to go. So I hope it still exists. I hope it still exists.
The guy that brought up the comments that kind of set off the firestorm this week, Kansas head coach Bill Self. We will start with Kansas and Duke recapping the Champions Classic. As always, a phenomenal event. As a fan of one of the four teams in that event, it's something I watch with great interest every year. Duke takes down Kansas in the second game of the event to now have a 9-6 record overall there, as does Kansas. Duke still a game under 500 in that event against Kansas, winning records against both Kentucky and Michigan State. But let's start with the Kansas side of things here, Jacob. We know it's a blue blood program, a proud program, not dominating the Big 12, maybe like it once did, thanks to the Kelvin Sampson experience at Houston. Baylor's been good, and other pop-up teams, obviously Arizona, who we'll talk about later in the show as well. But it's still Kansas. It's still blue blood. It's still Bill Self. And they have, for my money, the best player in college basketball this year in Darren Peterson, except that they didn't have him against Duke in Tuesday's contest. Is there such a thing as a moral victory for Kansas, fighting the way they did, leading the way they did, ultimately falling short without the presumptive number one overall pick?
That's the sound. We're teetering toward how some discussions around a certain football program can sound around here. This sounds eerily familiar. A once proud program down on their luck. Are there such thing as moral victories? But in terms of Kansas basketball, there isn't. And even without Peterson, I can see how you make the case for it. Because I think I've said it on this show. Your hope, if you're a Kansas fan, alum, or just a viewer, is that after the last couple of years of just bag hunting and ending up with Hunter Dickinson and AJ Storr and all sorts of guys who just don't fit just for the highest bidder, you hope that with Peterson, they commit to that, and we're like, we have all these role guys around him, and he's going to get attention. It can open up shots for these guys. But when there's no Darren Peterson to draw the attention, especially to those guys on the perimeter, it can get a little hairy. I still there are some pieces on that team that I really like. There's some pieces where I'm like, you gotta show me. I think
Who are those pieces that you like?
I like Badunga. I like his
Glory Big Dunka.
Yeah, I like his upside, and I think he might have played his best game in a Kansas uniform. Funny enough, and I him, and I've always, for whatever reason, was a Trey White believer. I don't know why I've been holding on to my Trey White stock, and he did all right as well. 22 points on 13 shots. Not what you want, but I mean, they were kind of, they were in a weird spot.
Over 50%.
Yeah, they were in a weird spot. It was going to
yeah.
be an uphill battle, regardless without Peterson. And, and they looked better than I thought. I know we were texting back and forth. I said, relegate that game to ESPN, the Ocho, because the minute Peterson got ruled out, and, Kansas in 2025, it's, the last few years have been just super weird. But I mean, just the lack of the Bill Self offense that just has been so absent for these last few years. And, people can, make the argument it's, the game has passed them by and it's dated and whatever. But I mean, just even just the lack of high-low stuff, the lack of, I mean, Badunga, they'll gladly throw lobs to him, but they're not running like the traditional KU big man stuff with him. They weren't doing it with Hunter Dickinson either. So it's kind of just been out of their... Yeah.
The swing is there's not a Cole Aldrich, there's not a Nick Collison, anyone like that in the building, right? Dickinson thought that he could stretch the floor, really couldn't. And let's not forget, probably about late January and February last year, Bill Self started playing KJ Adams, Corey Badunga, and Hunter Dickinson
on the court
at the same time.
Yes.
Now, if you're Dusty May and you can talk yourself into, okay, Yaxel Lindenberg can play the 3, Merez Johnson's going to bully ball the 4, and then we'll stick a Daymara at the rim, maybe, but come on, Bill Self in Kansas. Badunga, to me, I get big DeAndre Ayton vibes. Rocked up, big, can play through him in the post. They haven't really. I think that can be
some NBA franchise
explored a little bit.
Him.
But
some
here's
NBA
the thing.
franchise is going to hate
the NBA will use him smarter because they have the DeAndre Ayton example. I don't think Badunga has the, shall we say, baggage that Ayton does with him, right? He'll buy into being the role guy because when Kansas was at its best, they just put him in the pick and roll and said, hey, go dunk. Yeah. Go be a beast. Yeah. Go own the paint.
Just go weight room, people.
Right. And he did. Pat Gungba isn't the best interior defender. Malik Brown is known for his versatility and switchability more so than actual at-rim defense. And it worked for Kansas. Melvin Council leads the way with 6 assists, shot way too much. But part of that was Duke's game plan and led into it. I was begrudgingly impressed. If Trey White can shoulder some of this load for Kansas, they have Notre Dame and Syracuse to lead off the Players Era Festival coming up here in a couple days. I mean, you can get by with Trey White leading the way there. I guess the next question for me then is, what's Kansas's ceiling once Darren Peterson comes back?
Yeah, because, I mean, the rest of the Big 12, I mean, we talked about it. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I mean, the Big 12's deep, man. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that might be the deepest. Well, the SEC would like a word, but I mean, there's just,
SEC is a little teetering right now.
Yeah,
teetering.
He's teetering. I mean, the Big 12's deep. I like that. I mean, there's a lot of depth, a lot of good teams in that league, and it's tough to project the ceiling. I think there's kind of a a traffic jam at the top, and I think there's probably some clear teams at the bottom. But I mean, when you've got teams like Arizona, BYU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, who I've anointed as my basketball crush.
Big one for them tonight.
Year. Huge one for them. That's a possible Final Four type game in a hotel ballroom in the Bahamas because it's feast week. But there's a lot of good coaching in the Big 12 too. A lot of talent. I mean, that's a deep league, and Kansas is not what it once was, and it's. Yeah, without Peterson, it's a bunch of role guys who have to be stars in their, be stars not just in their role, but do a little bit extra too. And that, guys like Rosario's out there, he's got one job, and if he's not doing his job, you can't play him. Even my guy Jay Dawson, shout out to Ma Central basketball, he's got one job when he's out there, and he hit one the other night. But if if they're not going in, it's just you gotta either play excellent D, and I don't think Jay is a plus, a negative defender, but he's not exactly a plus either. He's kind of in the middle. But I mean, it's just the margin for error. The margin for error, especially the margin for error with Peterson even is slim. We saw that in Chapel Hill, and without him, it just becomes almost non-existent.
Speaking of margin for error, Duke has a little bit more.
Yeah.
They win it by a dozen, 78-66. It was a 21-7 run in the first half to take the 8-point lead at the break. Kansas gets it back within a couple points or a few points, a handful of times. But Duke ends up winning. Paced by Cam Boozer's 18 points. Isaiah Evans contributed 16, and Pat Gungba contributed 13. The Spalding balls are going to stick in my craw forever. The orange, sticky, tacky ones, Duke has not shot well with at this event year after year. They don't practice with them. They don't use them again until, I believe, March Madness. So might be something for Duke to consider, but they didn't do it. The question for me, Jacob, really revolves around Cam Boozer.
Mm-hmm.
The games against the low major competition that Duke has played, he's dominated. He looks to me, not that I watched a whole lot of Cam Boozer coming out of high school, but enough to say he looks maybe a little too big, maybe a little too thick. Maybe he just got used to weight rooming kids in high school. But even that last possession where they run the high pick and roll, Kansas blitzes it, and Caden finds Cam in the middle of the court, that's when you go dunk. Put an exclamation point on it. He kind of flailed into a finger roll, and it went in. The stat line looks pretty good for Cam Boozer overall. I mean, 18 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists versus 2 turnovers, and 7 rebounds. A guy that was getting double teamed. Passing sure looked to be there, at least making the right reads. Problem was 18 points on 17 shots. 1 of 4 from 3, only 5 free throw attempts, and really struggled against Badunga's length and Tiller's length on the interior, which continues a trend that he had even against Texas in the opening game.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's weird because there are some of these conversations where, like, I understand efficiency. There are definitely some people in multiple levels of basketball who you could almost say have become like efficiency merchants in a way. Just the discourse and how it's gone. But at the same time, Cam Boozer now, I mean, the mock drafts are going to change so much. But people for the first couple of weeks were like, yeah, he's the top guy now, because I've seen that a few places, and I'm just like, what are we like? Are we sure?
Are we watching the games?
We watching the games? I mean, I think that they'll get better as the season goes on. Duke and him, like but the stats you mentioned, between the low majors and the Power Conference opponents. I know they got 2 more low majors back-to-back days at Cameron this weekend too, so I'm sure he'll find a way to stat pad. But that's
it's tonight and then Sunday.
It is. Oh, I thought it was back-to-back days.
They're playing Niagara right now. That is what I'm second screen.
Niagara.
Brotherhood run. Greg Paulus.
Yep, Greg Paulus. Yep.
And Kenny Blakeney.
Yep, and Howard, right? Kenny Blakeney's at
Howard.
Howard.
At Howard. Yep.
So that makes
Sunday.
sense. That makes sense. They're just on the old friends tour. Look at them go.
Before their Feast Week game against.
They're at
they're at the United Center taking on.
I don't remember.
Arkansas.
Oh.
On Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You're right about that. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Continue your point.
Yeah. But no, I mean, that we kind of it's kind of been a similar thing with Shire and these standout guys these last couple of years. Like they'll have their moments, but then they'll get better. They'll refine as the year goes on, and that's not just a Duke thing. That's college basketball in general. But I like what I've seen. I don't think he's far from a finished product. Obviously, he's a freshman, and he's probably going to be a one and done. But
which is interesting because it feels like he's closer to his ceiling than maybe Cooper Flagg was at this point last year.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. It's the thing about Duke and talking about how they have more of a margin for error. Like what's crazy looking at that team, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to remind myself. I know we were doing our guys last week when Willie was here, but I mean they're just you want to talk about like role guys and just being a star and what they do. Like guys like Evans and Foster has had his moments. It's been kind of a roller coaster with him, but that's what leads to the bigger margin for error. Caden Boozer obviously isn't as highly acclaimed as his brother, but he's still a pretty highly rated prospect. Good upside, good genes. So. I'm interested to see what they look like when they take a step up in the competition, but I mean they've definitely made a case to be considered one of the better teams in the sport so far for sure.
And this is a Duke team that right now is number 1 at KenPom, which again, I'm a KenPom guy. I love it, but I've also watched the Duke games, and it's kind of hard for me to believe. Duke still has a rating over 30. They are the only team over 30. Houston's right on the doorstep, as is Gonzaga at number 3. Purdue, actually, there's a pretty sizable gap between those top 3. And then Purdue, there's a point between Purdue and Arizona. who we'll get to, and the gap just continues to grow as you get down the list. My last thing then on this segment before we take our first break and talk about the first game in the Champions Classic. Did this game change your opinion on either team, this Duke-Kansas game?
Not particularly, no. I think the Duke, my opinion with Duke, I'll start to have like long-term thoughts about them, when we get to like the middle of December, because I know in December, I forgot about that Arkansas game, but I know they're going to Breslin on a Saturday in December. I think they have Texas Tech in there too.
So here's the next,
Florida's there as well.
Yeah, the next month for Duke is from now until essentially almost exactly a month. It's Niagara Howard, like we talked about, Arkansas in Chicago, Florida in Durham, to the Breslin, Lipscomb, and Texas Tech at the Garden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talk to me in a month. I'll have some thoughts. I'll have some thoughts on Duke in a month for sure. But no sweeping declarations. And then, with Kansas, it's just like the Peterson factor is so significant. It's just like, they're not, they obviously need him. It's a matter of how much longer he's going to not be available. But you just can't project or think too much about, about, I don't want to say like the bad news bears, but kind of like just a ragtag group of, role guys who are missing, their centerpiece.
Let's go to our Starter Human Jewelers text line here briefly. 5539. We've got the winningest team in college basketball over the last 8 months right here in Lincoln, Nebraska, home of 93.7 The Ticket FM. What are we doing talking about the Clemson of college basketball, a.k.a. Kansas, when there's a big game for the Huskers tonight? Well, my friend, I'm not sure what you do for your day job. We appreciate you listening to the show. We talked a lot about Nebraska men's basketball during the daytime programming. If we have time, we'll get to it. But I have talked a lot about that game throughout the course of the day. Go back, listen to the shows. We talked a lot about it. It's fun to do something different from sometimes, right? The entire purpose of this show here, the Open 2, is to take you around college basketball. It's something I'm passionate about. I know Biggs is as well. It's fun to open your eyes to other stuff going on across the country too. Champions Classic, an early showcase event for college basketball. Trust me, we get the Huskers. We hit on them. We'll be watching tonight. We'll have thoughts on it. Don't worry. But there's a lot more going on in college basketball. So really appreciate you tuning in here. Please don't turn off the radio, right? Keep listening to the Corner 3. We got a lot more interesting stuff to talk about as well. But pretty much every show today hit on Husker men's basketball at some point, which is why we have switched gears here on the Corner 3. When we get back, game 1, yet game 2 of the Champions Classic, Michigan State and Kentucky. We'll break that game down and then some other fun games of the week as we continue on the Corner 3. All right, Lincoln, if you're a diesel technician who's ready to earn up to $40 an hour and you're tired of working nights and weekends, listen up. Inland Truck Parts and Service is hiring experienced diesel technicians right here in Lincoln, and they're offering what every hardworking tech wants. Monday through Friday hours, no nights, no weekends, and paid training on advanced diesel technology. With 37 locations across 12 states, career advancement opportunities are endless. Start building towards your future and apply today at inlandtruck.com. That's inlandtruck.com. Or text APPLY to 785-369-1320.
Are you tired of living in pain? At Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, they make it simple. From head to toe, spine to extremities, they've got you covered. Their multi-specialty team of experts in orthopedic surgery, plastic surgery, podiatry, physical therapy, and occupational therapy all work under one roof to get you back to living life pain-free. Don't wait another day. Visit prairie-ortho.com today or call them at 402-489-4700. Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, where healing begins.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at gainatrucking.com.
What's it take to be a mentor with big brothers, big sisters? It takes 30 minutes and a cup of coffee. A video game, best 2 out of 3. It takes sharing thumbs up emojis, clapping emojis, and loaded nachos at halftime. That's how you make an impact on a young kid's life. So go on, share a few hours a month, because mentorship may sound huge, but the truth is, it takes little to be big. To learn more, volunteer, or donate, go to bebignow.org.
This is your year to win way more than bragging rights. At Warhorse Casino, your love of the game could earn you serious cash. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with cash prizes all season long, like up to $1,000 weekly, with your chance at $1 million, all while earning tier points and comp points every time you place a sports bet. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Rain, snow, or shine, John Henry's is here to keep your home's plumbing systems working properly no matter what kind of weather Nebraska throws at us. From unclogging toilets and drains to installing new water heaters and water treatment systems, John Henry's is your plumbing expert in the Lincoln and Omaha communities. Visit us at calljh.com or call
John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
and electrical.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Did you know that deer collisions are covered under the comprehensive portion of your car insurance? That means, like with hail damage or vandalism, since they are out of your control, they don't usually raise your insurance rates. And that's a good thing, since most deer don't carry liability insurance. At Eustace Body Shop, we fixed all kinds of animal collision damage, from cows to raccoons, bobcats, and even turkeys. We can't do much for the animal, but we can get your car back on all fours and looking like new again.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Electrical Enterprises in Roca reminds you, the men and women of our military dedicate themselves to serving our country. Their commitment and courage keep our country safe and strong. Let us honor those who have lost their lives in the line of duty and salute those who serve today. This from Electrical Enterprises in Roca. For all of your residential and commercial electrical construction needs, call 402-438-5822. Wishing everyone health, happiness, peace, and joy this holiday season.
Back to the Corner 3 on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Austin Oerman.
Welcome back in. It is the Corner 3. Austin Oerman here, Jacob Bigelow there, and you, wherever in the world you are. If you're listening live, you can be a part of the show, 402-464-5685. Mississippi Mud Dog, appreciate you chiming in, and Cubsker, appreciate you listening. He says you should talk about a real team in North Carolina. North Carolina, who now?
Yeah.
What's going on in Chapel Hill? Anything?
Nah.
When's the last time they played in a Champions Classic?
Yeah, that's a great question. They still got to get through the Belichick thing. Still got a couple more games of the Belichick thing going on there. I know that. So yeah, we don't need to talk about adult cheerleading competitions or anything like that. But
but if we want to, we have a platform.
There's probably a podcast for that somewhere.
It's called Pablo Torre Finds Out.
It is called Pablo Torre Finds Out. But North Carolina, still don't really know. I like Caleb Wilson. I've watched Kyan Evans play a lot of basketball.
Have you now?
I have. I have.
More than your average.
Just not in Baby Blue, but yeah, I've watched plenty of Kyan Evans before. Those are my thoughts on North Carolina.
And we will keep them as such until the CBS Sports Classic.
Yes.
Coming up.
Yes.
Another team that will feature in that, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Maybe we'll see if they show up to that one.
I mean,
because they did not show up to the Champions Classic. That was bad.
They sure as hell did not. And the comments from Mark Pope probably made it feel even worse, both leading into and afterwards. There's not a lot of confidence being inspired for Big Blue Nation right now. They are currently giving it to Loyola Maryland at Rupp, but there's still plenty of room. I mean, for anything, because they're 2 losses already for them. They are down a couple guys. I think Jaden Quintus or
Quaintance,
however you pronounce it. I think he will make a world of a difference. But this game against Michigan State, it's as cliche as it is. I'm going to put on my old-timey sports columnist hat. Was a tale of two recruiting styles, a bunch of money versus no portal at all. And it was, Michigan State appears to be, Tom Izzo, man, he's kind of a cockroach. When you doubt him and you think you've got him under your shoe and it's like, this is it, it's going to catch up with them. It's still early. The calendar does still say November on it. But Michigan State has looked, dare I say, a bit impressive. Wins over Arkansas and Kentucky. Nothing like otherworldly. Like they're still, they beat Arkansas and was it Arkansas or Kentucky?
They beat Arkansas.
Well, no, where Kohler played really well. Where Mr. Double Arm Bands, Jackson Kohler, played really well. And
I was more tuned into Carson Cooper's black eye. He's playing with essentially one eye against Kentucky late in that game.
Yeah, and those guys, with all the Big Ten basketball we watch, obviously with Nebraska, these are just they're like ghosts. They're not Big Ten past yet, but they're just still around. They're just guys who are lingering for the in the Big Ten, especially Kohler and Cooper, just the most Tom Izzo. There is nothing impressive about them at all. They're going to be a massive pain in the ass in YMCA noon ball for the rest of time.
Stephen Crow at least stretched the floor.
Yeah, no, it's there's levels to Big Ten white guys. It's like Wisconsin Big Ten white guys, Michigan State Big Ten white guys, and then Purdue Big Ten white guys are
stretch how you have to reach the Purdue Big Ten white guys.
Yeah. So that's.
Did you see CBS Sports post the Isaac Haas picture yesterday?
I did. I did. I once stood next to that man, and I was quite terrified standing next to that man on the court at Pinnacle Bank Arena many years ago. And then Nebraska somehow won that game. People forget that was a game that happened. Isaac Haas lost at Pinnacle Bank Arena, but Michigan State, the biggest thing coming into the year for me with them was did they have anyone who can shoot the ball? Do they have a game plan other than Cohen Carr goes bouncy? Is there
that's top 20 player in the Big Ten, Cohen Carr?
Yeah, we're still trying to make Cohen Carr happen, huh? And they're playing right now. They're up double digits, and they're 2 for 7 from 3, good for 29%. And there are only 2 guys who have attempted more than one, and it's Jeremy Fears and Cohen Carr. Cohen Carr is 2 for 2. You know what they say about blind squirrels, but it's just they're finding ways. And even when we have these mega teams funded, the reports are Kentucky spent north of $20 million on this team, and they're still not there at full strength. And grumpy old man, literally the college basketball version of old man yells at cloud, Grandpa Simpson, Tom Izzo, is we're not doing that. We got some Rocket Mortgage money laying around, but I'm still gonna do this my way or the highway. And he's got 2 he's 2-0 against SEC money bags in a short period of time against Calipari and Mark Pope.
We'll start with Michigan State, and I'm going to really piss some green and white fans off. And hail to the victors. Sorry, shouldn't do that.
Oh, don't do that.
I had to. It was right there. It's too easy. My first takeaway from this game, and really Michigan State's start to the season, is identity matters early. Mm-hmm. We talk about teams growing into their identity, right? I think Duke will, like we talked about. Kansas will have to with Peterson being out. Arkansas and Cal, their identity under Calipari has really just been, hey, roll the ball out. We have better players than you. It'll work. But that's a team that still has to gel. Kentucky, we'll get to them in a minute. I do think the injuries matter for them, but they're kind of in roll the ball out mode, which is not Mark Pope's identity. Whereas Tom Izzo's teams are playing exactly the way Tom Izzo's teams always have. If this is a second weekend Sweet 16 matchup again, I will talk myself into taking Kentucky just because I don't like the cockroach ability of Michigan State. But we're in the first week and a half, 2-3 weeks of a season where identity really matters. Michigan State knows who it is. They've practiced this way all offseason with their full complement of players. And then you add that identity on top of hot shooting, which they hadn't done all year. I think it was Brendan Marks writing for The Athletic, who talked about just how well Michigan State shot. They entered the game 360th out of 365 teams in made threes per game, at just 4 of them. By the first media timeout, they already hit 4. And then they hit 11 threes on the game. They'd made 13 all year. Some of that's okay, it's their night. But then you look at Jeremy Fears, maybe making the leap. I mean, he's not going to be first team all Big Ten point guard, right? We know that Braden Smith exists. I'm still in on Donovan Dent. I like him as a player. But darn if Jeremy Fears isn't solid.
Yeah.
You know, a career high 13 assists. This is an Izzo team that, like his other teams, again, Mark's writing for The Athletic, is a team that really shares the ball. I'm going to try to find the stats here because it's pretty crazy. So 25 assists on 32 made shots in the Champions Classic. Michigan State now first nationally in assist rate, averaging an assist on 78% of its made field goals. Only 19 teams in the last 25 seasons have posted an assist rate over 70%. The last team to do it, 2016, Michigan State. Okay, Tom Izzo teams finished top 10 nationally in assist rate 9 times since 2000. 2016 to 2020, they were never worse than third. And in the final 4 seasons that they made, in the last 4 Final Four appearances, Michigan State has been 1st, 7th, 17th, and 10th, assisting on at least 62.2% of its made shots. This is not a Miles Bridges team. This is not a Denzel Valentine team for Michigan State. Shoot, this isn't even a Cassius Winston team. This is a Tom Izzo team. They know who they are, and that serves them so well early, and they grow into it even more late.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely really important early in the year to know who you are, know your strengths, know what you want to do and what you want to be. And, you know, it's obviously every team in college basketball has the same, you know, end goal for how, you know, how they want their season to end up and how they want it to, you know, where they want it to end. But it's how you start, you know, it's, you know, self-awareness and, you know, knowing what you want your goal to be, you know, to start the season, to get toward that eventual end goal. And if anyone knows a thing or two about being around the block, it's Tom Izzo.
So Kentucky, it took Mark Pope 45 minutes to get from the locker room to the post-game press conference. There were reports from Chris Budden on the sideline for ESPN, bickering in the huddle, guys sniping back and forth at one another. Whereas Pope said last year he would go into the huddle, seniors and upperclassmen said, you know what, we got it handled. That's pretty crazy. And then after the game, Mark Pope says this: if you build an organization the right way, then your identity is not about an individual person. Your identity is about a collective group. And so it shouldn't matter if we had built a great organization and a great culture, which I've clearly failed to do up until today, but we won't fail this season. We have just failed up until today. Mark Pope is my guy, the coach that I took, put the old Oerman jinx on him, my bad Kentucky fans, and Mark Pope for that one. I like a lot of what he said there in that quote. I think that the injuries are both a reason and an excuse. Kentucky looks the way that it does right now. But man, Kentucky's 2 games against high major teams have not gone well. And of course, it's early. You're 5 games into the year. It's not lost and you're down to your better players. But man, I'm starting to wonder if this is a best money can buy team that ends up being less than the sum of its parts compared to the BYU teams that Young had or Pope had, and then even last year.
Yeah, it's a conundrum, right? You know, because you can't look at it through like every game's a referendum on the year and the season's lost and everything's over. And obviously when you're missing multiple guys, but I mean, it's, you know, it's like what we talked about with Duke and the Boozer numbers. It's like they've looked all right against lesser than competition when you're playing Nichols and Eastern Illinois and Valpo, and you're winning by, you know, 20 to 50. But when I know this is well in the past, talking about a different game, but like that Louisville Kentucky game, you know, I can't remember the last Louisville Kentucky game where it just looked like Louisville wanted it so much more than Kentucky. Like Louisville, like they looked like we're here for a reason. They wanted it more, and you know, Kentucky, and they people forget how lopsided that rivalry is. It gets a lot of talk about, you know, it's one of the best rivalries in college basketball, whatever, but it's still very lopsided in Kentucky's favor. And that was the first, you know, obviously that was the first game against the high major. I'm just like, Kentucky, I don't like the body language. I don't like the, you know, how lethargic, you know, at times Pope and those guys can look. And once again, a lot is just going to be made about the money and how much they spent and all that. And, it's I would not want to be, I'm glad we're not doing a show on KSR. I'm glad we're not,
God bless you, Matt Jones.
God bless, holy cow. That's, it's going to be an interesting stretch here, for that team, because they came in with big money and big expectations. And, the two early tests have not looked great. And, when you look at their December, man, we were talking about Duke's December, North Carolina, Gonzaga, Indiana, and St. John's, all in the month of December. It's going to get turned up to 11 real quick for Pope and Kentucky.
Which is why it's interesting that the Champions Classic now comes game 5 instead of game 1. It used to be a season tip-off sort of event. If this happened game 1 for Kentucky, a lot of overreaction, but at least it's game 1. Back it's game 5, and you have another high major game as a trend in there. Things are a little more worrying. Speaking of a trend, Arizona's making a trend of beating top teams on the road,
yes,
at least neutral. Let's go over Arizona's case for the current number 1 team in college basketball, bring you through a couple other interesting games, and get you, dear listener, set up for your feast week. A lot of great hoops on. We'll discuss that when we get back to the corner 3.
It seems like just the other day, I was building my first house. I've seen many changes to our building market in Lincoln. It's been a fun road.
Bob Benish is the founder and president of Aspen Builders, online at aspenbuildersinc.com.
We hear this a lot where I don't want to live in a cookie cutter home. Well, let's come up with some answers on what we're going to build, where we're going to build it, and what it's going to cost. One thing that we started doing early on was we started building neighborhoods. I'm a firm believer in character in your street and in your neighborhood. I like choice. I like variation. I like maybe something a little bit different in a neighborhood that you don't see in every neighborhood. I think it's great to have choices, its uniqueness, and I think that's what gives a neighborhood character. And I think that's what we've done over the years.
Make your dream home a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle.
Did you know that deer collisions are covered under the comprehensive portion of your car insurance? That means, like with hail damage or vandalism, since they are out of your control, they don't usually raise your insurance rates. And that's a good thing, since most deer don't carry liability insurance. At Eustace Body Shop, we fixed all kinds of animal collision damage, from cows to raccoons, bobcats, and even turkeys. We can't do much for the animal, but we can get your car back on all fours and looking like new again.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top-quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
MWR is dedicated to building attractive, affordable steel buildings that exceed your expectations. From commercial to residential to agriculture storage, steel buildings are cost-effective, attractive, and versatile. Plus, they're a lasting investment and an ideal choice. MWR uses Sentinel Building Systems out of Albion and can service you all over the state and region. If you have interest in a steel building, post-frame building, or fencing, give MWR a call today at 402-980-5273 or go to mwrbuildingandfence.com.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, the #1 fastest growing GMC dealer in the Omaha and Lincoln area. We are going to keep this train rolling in a big way with new half-ton and 4x4 pickup trucks starting at $12,500 off list price or 0% financing. You heard that right, $12,500 off list price or 0% financing. You pick which one works better for you. Please stop on in the dealership and meet the team or check us out at coppellcars.com. Stock number C280930. All deals with approved credit.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Back to the Corner 3 on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Austin Oerman.
That's right. Welcome back in to the Corner 3 podcast. If you're listening on radio, I can only assume that we will end up going past 7 o'clock, but that's all right. We'll get you to your other programming before too long, prevent any major issues. Jacob Bigelow alongside on Twitter at Jacob A. Bigelow. Give him a follow. I am at Austin_Oerman. Interact with the show while it's going on or after the fact as well there. Again, if you're listening live, 240-2464-5685. Appreciate y'all taking some time out of your Friday night to listen to a little bit of college hoops chatter. At the time of this recording, we are just under 2 hours away from Nebraska men's basketball tipping it up against Kansas State. Maybe get into that game a little bit here at the end of the pod. But Jacob, right now, I do want to go over Arizona's case to be #1 in the country. They go on the road and beat #3 UConn in Stores by 4 after opening the season with a 6-point win over Florida in a neutral but closer to home game in Las Vegas. And then they go to Los Angeles and actually take down #15 UCLA. First 16 days of the season, Arizona has 3 wins over ranked teams. The only other team close to that is Michigan State with 2 of them over Arkansas. And then Kentucky, since 95-96, only 3 teams have started a season with 3 wins in their first 5 games against top 15 opponents, with all of those wins coming away from home. It was 2001-2002 Arizona, 2020-21 Gonzaga, and now this year's Arizona squad. Okay, so that's pretty cool when you throw that out there for them. Tommy Lloyd has been pretty incredible in his time at Arizona. He had Arizona's first win in the top 5 game since the 2001 Final Four, is 8-4 against the AP top 5, best mark in a guy's first 5 seasons in a job. 24 wins against ranked teams, second most to start a career in the past 30 years behind only Tom Izzo at 31. And 16 of those 24 ranked wins have come away from home. Do you think at this moment, Arizona should be the #1 ranked team in the country come Monday?
I don't, but I think there is a strong case. I just, I've become so desensitized to polls and like their importance. I mean, they definitely have a case. They have, one of the wins that will age probably the best in the entire sport, going to UConn, winning a true road game. I think that's going to age the best for for a result this season. And then, they've done it a couple different ways. A couple of their results have looked a little different. They're only playing like 8 guys, but the opener against Florida, everyone's like, oh, this is the Koa Pete experience. This is the Koa Pete team. And there were probably a bunch of NBA scouts who went to the Intuit Dome when they played UCLA, and they're like, we're here for the Koa Pete show. And he was kind of so. He wasn't that great, wasn't anything spectacular, but they still found a way to get the win. And they've got, they're, like I said, they're only playing 8 guys. Obviously, Pete is, outstanding. He's gonna, I like his pieces, I like his tools. I'm interested to see what he looks like as the season goes on. Toby Awaka, it's crazy what getting away from Rick Barnes can do to a person, especially a basketball player.
Hey, don't tell that to Felix Okpara.
Yeah. But I like to walk at Tennessee, and I like to see, he a guy who knows exactly. He's got one job. It's boards, and it's it's playing.
Boardman gets paid.
Boardman does get paid, and Tommy Lloyd knows how to pay some guys too. So it's
Where do you learn that? Where do you learn that?
Hey, Tommy Lloyd, Mr. Worldwide. Yeah, not as much worldwide flavor on this Arizona team as previous Tommy Lloyd iterations.
Yeah, well,
either.
one of them decamped for the Eastern Seaboard.
Yes, yes, that did happen. But I mean, yeah, all this Arizona talk just makes me like, we obviously got to get through non-con, obviously, but I mean, the Big 12 is going to be so much fun. There's going to be so many fun matchups in that league, and we talked about it earlier in the segment with Kansas. But I mean, I think that they've got an argument for sure, but it's going to be tough to knock Houston or Purdue down. Purdue has a result that'll probably be one of the better results in the sport too, going to Bama and winning at Coleman. And then Houston, I mean, maybe you make a case to knock down Houston. I mean, I don't, maybe, but I don't think you can leapfrog both of them.
Houston gets more benefit of the doubt at the very least. I mean, they've just been up there so much, and Purdue has too, to be completely fair. Now, Purdue loses to Texas Tech. Maybe there's a case there, but this is where, again, I'm with you. The rankings have kind of lost their luster for me. You do them, I get why, but if the point of the rankings is to rank the best teams right now, Arizona needs to be number one. If the point of the rankings is to project who you think will win the tournament at the end of the year, then okay, fine, have Arizona where you do. And that's where this concept of anchoring, so many people do that, right? Just because Purdue is number one, if Arizona has, two more impressive results than Purdue's one, and maybe it'll be 3-2, and then, okay, maybe it's too close. We don't want to give Purdue the benefit of the doubt. So be it. I would still have Purdue number one right now myself. But there's a very fine line between who played, as the 25 best teams this week, and then you add weeks on top of that, and then, how much you move teams up and down. I just think we got to be a little flexible with it, right? If there was some dissension that had Arizona at number one, I wouldn't be mad about it. I mean, Houston has been good, but not overwhelmingly
They've left a lot
good.
to be desired.
They have.
They did not, they did not grant my wish against Auburn this past weekend. They did not grant my wish at all. They've left a lot to be desired. I mean, they've got the pieces. They've got the two freshmen and Flemings, and I forget the other guy's name.
Chris Senack.
Yep, Chris Senack. But they don't have like a Crier or like one of the guys they've had in the years past who they can go to for that end of game situation. Like where the end of game shot is going. They've left a little bit to be desired. And I will say this, if you think there are some people who don't watch games that vote in the football AP poll, may I introduce you to the college basketball AP poll, which may be even less informed and even more wonky and weird, and like the adjustment period for people to realize, oh, this team might not be great. I would point about 40 miles away from here, and the fact that they got it handed to them and at the kennel, and people were like, no, they're still a top 25 team. There's nothing to worry about here. This is fine.
Which fair. I mean, and it's part of that is Gonzaga is also really good right now.
Yes.
But Creighton is fringe top 25 at best, right?
And after today's news, that may be
let's take this moment to discuss that. Jackson McAndrew out for the year with a foot injury, and Greg McDermott, incredible stuff. We're going to yank Hudson's red shirt. He's one of the few guys that I know is going to do what I ask him to do. He's going to be in the right spot at the right time. Which, first of all,
this team needs grit. We know he has grit. Like,
just say he's white, Greg. Just say it. Okay. His name is Hudson Greer. You don't have to say it, but just say it.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, Creighton's season, and it's quickly like, I know it's November, and you don't want to make any rash declarations, but it's like the line is close, like for like worst case, like what else could go wrong kind of territory. Like, and obviously they were going to be a different team this year with no Kalkbrenner and like the different personnel from years past. And, Creighton's teams always get better as the season goes on, but what it's looked like so far, I mean, the teams with any type of paint presence are got to be like licking their chops going up against out of shape Owen Freeman and some young unproven, you're one young unproven at the college level, European guy and Kieran Conan, and
Fred King ain't walking through that door is what you're saying.
Big Fred ain't walking through that door. No, he is not. And they, the outside shooting has left a lot to be desired. they don't really have any like dynamic dudes. Like they don't have a Trey Alexander. They don't even have like a diet Trey Alexander. It's just
Blake Harper could be, but he's not there yet.
Blake Harper could be. And I if I had to pick anyone on that team to be like, that's the guy who needs to like become their guy, that's where I'd point is toward him. But I mean, it could, they go out to Vegas for Players Era and they get back-to-back Big 12, Baylor and Iowa State. Like could be a little hairy out there. And then, you will see them a couple blocks that way in little over 2 weeks.
That we will. Creighton's saving grace might be the Big East.
I don't know if that you could say it's a saving grace.
But here's the thing. Hear me out. I mean, if UConn's going to be hurt by injuries, if St. John's not going to have a point guard, that's just a bad matchup for this Creighton team. I'm not there on Nova. I'm not there on Marquette, who's doing the Michigan State thing like 30% worse than Michigan State is doing it. Georgetown
has
is
a pulse
popping up potentially, but people are going to want to see more.
Yeah.
And other than that, I mean, Creighton could still finish 4th in the Big East by being okay.
But that league only got 3 teams in the tournament last year.
That's
if the rest of the team and if the rest of the league is shoddy, then I mean,
thank you for using ODD instead of
shoddy ODDY. But there's if the rest of the league is that, there could be a world where it's just UConn and St. John's. There could be a world where it's just UConn and St. John's because the rest of that league is not much to write home about.
And I'm still not out on UConn after that game, right? Tough to drop that one at home to Arizona, but no Terrace Reed in that one and no Braylon Mullins still out, right? That's a team in UConn that with 9 minutes left was down 5, shooting 28% from 3. I still think that this UConn team is just built for the way Dan Hurley wants to play. They'll need to get everyone back, but I still think they're the class of the Big East. Maybe that's because they make sense to me and St. John's just doesn't. I do not understand, but it's the Rick Pitino thing. So, okay, go off, do your thing in the Garden every so often. But even St. John's has looked vulnerable at times. Alabama sliced and diced them. They will face other good guards in the Big East, the same caliber of shooting. Probably not. Alabama's good. They're doing what you've described to me as the pick and roll tide, which we can get into now because Alabama survived a late push from Illinois.
They did.
Brad Underwoodovich almost pulled it out in Chicago. You like that one?
I do.
Brad Underwoodovich? Yes.
I do.
Illinois is good. They're a step behind Alabama, but they fought. They competed. Alabama just made it rain a little bit too much.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's just NATO to basketball. Just the math teacher doing math teacher stuff. And, Illinois, I was waiting to see something like that from Stojakovic. I was waiting on that. There's so many, they're all
so
their
itches to
all their
scratch.
Names are the same. But
hi, Kylan Boswell.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Kylan.
Shout out Keaton Wagler, by the way.
Yeah.
Learn the name, get familiar.
Yep. But that was a fun game. Alabama, I don't care who they're playing. I'll turn them on. I really don't. Like that's kind of where I'm at with them. As long as Nate Oates is wearing his funky jackets and running that offense, I'll watch Alabama play whoever. That was a fun game to watch. You know what they're gonna do. It's like Alabama's an easy scout. You just got to play them. Like that's the thing. It's like we know what they're gonna do. Like we just have to like be on our best if we're going up against it. That game almost kind of, I want to say it got lost, but it kind of flew under the radar a little bit. And once again, it's early. But there's been some fun little marquee games, and Alabama's been in 3 of them now. I'd say with the Illinois game, Purdue game, and then the St. John's game at the Garden.
Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station ID here on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
The real question, Jacob, comes if Alabama is playing on one channel and the Troy Trojans are playing on another channel. Who are you watching? You, me, and Wilson were all staying up watching that game because we just couldn't help ourselves. For those of you who have missed the start to the season for Troy, they have only played road games so far and only against Division I teams. Beat Kent State to start the year in overtime, beat Furman, lost to Loyola Marymount, who's actually pretty hot right now, lost kind of a weird one to Cal State Northridge, and then went into Viejas Arena took down San Diego State and should have lost to USC and then should have beat USC and then should have lost again and then should have won and then really should have won before Big Fella just didn't catch the ball and you get a ridiculous buzzer beater, probably the best one of the season so far. USC wins it in triple overtime, 107-106 in a game that was tied at 29 at halftime. Shout out my guy Cooper Campbell. By the way.
The Campbell brothers. They're get ready to learn about the Campbell brothers. I fear that game and the San Diego State game. Like if Troy wins the Sun Belt, they will be everyone's favorite like March Madness pick, and they'll be like, remember those games in November? But I mean, I'll give this to Troy. You know, like Scott Cross was doing well at UTA, and the AD there fired him, and UTA is not. UTA.
They fired him, by the way, for going in his last 5 years: 15-17, 16-15, 24-11, 27-9, and 21-13.
Yeah, he was
with 2 different conference switches. They were 3 conferences.
Yes, that's UTA is Texas Arlington for those of you at home who may not know. And he was let go. He comes back to Troy, and like Troy, they made the tournament last year. They lost starters to Indiana, West Virginia, and Tulsa. So, you know, obviously, you know, that's how that's how them's the breaks for some mid-major programs in today's college basketball. But, you know, they're going to be a fun watch regardless. Fun Belt basketball. I am familiar with the Sun Belt and how wacky and just weird it can get. And they spent a week in California, and for a time it looked like they were going to lose the 2 games you'd expect them to win, and then win the 2 that they should have won, and then USC just rips their heart out at the end. But you know, America, if you weren't up late last night, Troy has a set of ginger twins from Washington, from small town Washington, and one of them was just hooping last night on all over. It's the Galen Center, right? Yeah,
it is the Galen Center.
Yeah, the Galen Center against Musselman, and Musselman kept his shirt on after that result last night.
Do you know that Eric Musselman cut Eric Strickland from the D League?
I did not.
That's a story for a different time, but yes, that did happen. So there's that one. Let's go ahead and talk a few minutes on Nebraska, Kansas State. Give the people what they want. I hope our listeners come back to listen to this segment of things. Nebraska in possession of the longest win streak in the country right now. 4 games at the Crown, 5 games here, 9-game winning streak, best in the country, 8-game winning streak at neutral sites, I believe it is now, and a chance to move to 6-0 on the season, taking on Kansas State for the championship in the Hall of Fame Classic. Last time Nebraska was in this position, they got beat pretty handily by a Texas Tech team that ended up being pretty good. That was the Final Four team with Jarrett Culver ended up beating them down in Kansas City.
Remember how mad people were about that result?
They were very mad.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, but people got really mad. Like I was in the program at that time, and like that was, people thought the sky was falling. Like how can you lose to Texas Tech? That's a football. They're a football school too. How can you lose? And then that's once again, that's another for a different time. But
either way, big opportunity for Nebraska tonight. Ought to be a lot of points. The headliner for Kansas State is PJ Haggerty. There's a local connection there, Abdi Bashir Jr., who is a marksman for Kansas State. Really interesting to look at some of the numbers behind the numbers here. Ken Pom has this as number 40 versus number 48. Bart Torvik has this as number 37 versus number 72. What would a win tonight or a loss tonight mean for Nebraska?
I mean, a win is a feather in your cap. You know, you want to have at least some pelts on the wall. Yeah, I get it. Wildcats, pelts, pun not intended. But
I thought you were just remembering the Mike Peltz days.
Shout out Mike Peltz. Shout out Mike Peltz. But there, you want to have some of those on the wall in your non-con, and you have the Oklahoma win already. I don't think New Mexico is going to be something that's going to either get you in or keep you out of the tournament. You know, Eric Olin will get that thing going. Not this year. That team's too young, and you know but. I mean, this game and Creighton is kind of the last two. Like
Winthrop.
And Winthrop will be scrappy. I'll refer you to some Twitter clips of them getting a little scrappy with the fighting Calipari's, but
not with fighting Kenny Paynes.
But not with the fighting Kenny Paynes. But
there are no fighting Kenny Paynes.
No, there are not. But there's, it's you want to. I mean, it's pretty significant. It's obviously, if they lose, it's not the sky is falling by any stretch. We were talking about this before the show. It's kind of like. It's like the meme from SpongeBob of like, want to see me do it again? Like, we already beat a team that's built eerily similar to this in Oklahoma. It's kind of like round 2 going up. I mean, even down to, the Big 8 friend. stud, multiple transfer guard who will do it all, will be a tough guard, and multiple guys will probably be stuck on him. So, some guys who can get going from three if they're open. I think I saw last night they're near the top of the country in paint points, so they're going to pound the paint. We'll see how that no middle, that Nebraska continues to roll with. What the athleticism of K-State's wings and guards can do there. They're also in the top 10 in the country in three-point percentage, but it's not at like a super high volume. They take smart ones. You mentioned Bashir. Haggerty doesn't take a ton. He's more of an off the dribble guy, but he hit his first one last night, and he'll take them when they're smart. And credit to Jerome Tang for having some guys who will take smart shots after how their team has looked the last couple of years. But I think it's an interesting test for Nebraska. It's an interesting test. Fred Hoiberg cannot escape Kansas State. This will be the fourth time he's seen them in his time as the head coach at Nebraska. 4 just wildly different teams. Obviously, the last one was in December of 23 when they went to Manhattan and won. But the Jerome Tang experience is you want to talk about an EKG. The Jerome Tang Kansas State experience, their portal guys and how it's gone. But I think it'll be an interesting test, and the story kind of remains the same for Nebraska, unfortunately. What their deficiencies are. You know what the recipe is for success. It's what brought them back at the Pentagon. And I think it could be a similar script tonight down at T-Mobile.
Matt texts in, appreciate you listening live here, Matt. Who gets the start on PJ Haggerty? If you're Nebraska, you're drawing up the defensive game plan. I'm going to assume Nebraska goes with the same starters: Hoiberg, Lawrence, Sanford, Boyukton-Joe, and Mast. Coach Biggs, whose number goes by whose number?
I think Lawrence is on a short leash, but you got to start there, and you got to start there and go from there. I think it'll probably be by committee, depending on how it goes. The size discrepancy alone will make the idea of Sam Hoiberg guarding PJ Haggerty. That's an interesting.
6 foot versus 6'4".
Yeah, but it's gonna be, that's I'm interested to see how that'll go. But I figure you start with Lawrence, and then it's kind of by committee from there. There are a couple guys who I know they will want to have on the opposite side of the court from PJ Haggerty when they are out there. I will not name names, but it'll be interesting for sure. I think they'll start with Lawrence. If Sam's out there too, they're not going to double him, but there'll be and I don't even think they're going to want to pressure the ball. It's situationally. Their biggest thing defensively is trying to jump passing lanes and trying to deflections and that sort of thing. So I'm interested to see how it looks. There is a world where it's ugly for Nebraska. There is a world. I know the analytics really like Nebraska in this game, but I think the analytics are really high on Nebraska in general, especially Bart Torvik. But there is it's this game also probably their first game with a crowd disadvantage.
Yeah,
all season. We heard all about, how the environment at the Pentagon, willed them back, and the shots started falling and they fed off the energy. There'll be Nebraska fans there. There's a big, alumni base in Kansas City. I'm sure there were people who got off work today and, made the drive down to go. But it'll be, there'll be plenty of purple in there, and there will be plenty of the song, and Jerome Tang will want to do his corny little dance. So it'll be interesting. It's an interesting matchup on paper for Nebraska. It's eerily similar to Oklahoma, but I think K-State is a step above in terms of personnel, in my opinion. I think they've got better top to bottom. But the pack.
So here's the thing. I think Haggerty is probably the best player among them, but I think the drop off from Haggerty to number 2 is bigger than the drop off between
Pack
Brown and Pack.
Yeah,
whichever
that's
fair.
Direction. That's fair. Yeah, I just the Oklahoma and Kansas State are so eerily similar.
But Nebraska's also not necessarily not seen this before, because think about BYU.
Oh yeah.
The difference between Haggerty and their number 2 is a lot further than it is from DeBonsa to Wright.
Absolutely.
And I don't think K-State's bigs are Cape Ikeda either.
No, they are not. They have an Italian guy. I know that. I'm watching last night. Buca. They got Buca out there. I saw. I don't know how much they're gonna play him, but because it's Haggerty, Bashir. I forget who their third guy really is, but it's
early. It's kind of hard.
It's early. I was I was distracted by Troy last night. I wasn't too locked in on.
He is in Troy. Actually, yes, this time.
Actually, yes. Shout out High School Musical, but that was. It's a measuring stick kind of for Nebraska, because I mean it's like, obviously people around here, I mean there are going to be some people who don't watch a second of Nebraska until they play Creighton in 2 weeks, and it'll be like that's where we finally that's where we'll really see what they're made of. I'll give credit where credit's due to K-State. They played one power conference team at home in Cal. They almost blew it. They were cruising and they almost blew it. They took care of business against Mississippi State last night in the transfer portal All-Star game. After tonight, they go to Assembly Hall, and then they also come to the state of Nebraska to play Creighton in December. But that's so Jerome Tang must like something about that team. He must like something about it, because
they're fine.
Yeah,
they're fine.
After Haggerty, it's kind of a random conundrum like David Castillo and McGriff. I mean, it's just it's Haggerty, and you take what you get from everybody else. But they've got some stuff to them. They're twitchy. We'll see how Nebraska. The blueprint. Like we talked, I've said it multiple times on the show tonight. The blueprint. They're going to want to, get rebounds, get out space, get the shots up. And, it's just, we've talked about margin for error too, like the defensive margin for error with, their personnel and, the athleticism. It's pretty thin for Nebraska, especially when the shots aren't going in.
0368 says, Mass will have to play better than he did last night. He struggled in the second half, especially by Mass terms. Can't have 18 turnovers again. Absolutely. Nebraska just got a little loose with it. Just looked a little soft. Some really weird turnovers, right? New Mexico was, yes, pesky, but Nebraska went kind of basketball robot at sometimes. Just, this guy's probably going to be open, let me throw it, or just kind of holding the ball out, not in that, let me get on my hobby horse here, triple threat position, not necessarily fundamentally sound. And that's a focus thing, but something you shouldn't have to, coach with an upperclassman, veteran, experienced team who at this point I think should know that they don't have that margin for error. They've lived on the brink 2 consecutive games, and that's a little dangerous. But on the flip side, I like the maturity that it showed to be able to come back, to stick with it, not mail it in, not be screwed when you get down 16, 17 points against Oklahoma, and then be able to get back on beam when you do get the injection of Braden Frager, who played 16 second half minutes against New Mexico. It's going to be a big challenge for him. But I also think Frager is probably the guy that, to me, most encapsulates Nebraska as a whole. There's a guy that tonight the challenge for him is, can he do it back-to-back nights? Not just 2 and 3 or 2 in a week, but back-to-back nights for a guy who's been up and down, right? The question we've gotten all day and for the last week or so is, where's the consistency from Nebraska? Folks, welcome to playing and rooting for a jump shooting team.
Absolutely.
When there's flow of the game, when it's moving up and down, these guys are in rhythm, everyone's in place, it's going to look really good. But when it's a start and stop game with a lot of trips to the free throw line, with contact being allowed, it's going to be tough for Nebraska. They needed to do a better job in the second half of throwing the first punch, but they did to start. It was 22-5 and 33-13. Nebraska started fast like they asked for. Then they weren't able until about the midpoint of the second half to reestablish some semblance of control. Nebraska ends up shooting 37% for the game, but they didn't shoot 37% in both halves. This is a team that I think at the end of the year, they are going to be exactly who their record says they are. When you look at the numbers, they will be maybe 1 or 2 wins away from their Pythagorean Ken Palm expected whatever win total.
1,000%.
But any given night, who the heck knows?
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, we talked about this before the year. Fran McCaffrey is not in the Big Ten anymore, but the spiritual successor to Fran McCaffrey, Iowa basketball, just may be this year's Nebraska basketball.
And if it's not here, it's in Columbus, Ohio.
It's one of the two, but I think, but it's pretty similar because, there's 2 sides to it, right? Like Nebraska has had different guys step up. Last night, it's Lawrence and Frager. That the top of the scout is probably masked, it is masked in Sanford without question. And they had their big night in Sioux Falls. You've seen the Frager experience. You have the card carrying president of the Braden Frager Island Homeowners Association here. So I've tried to preach that to the choir as much as I could this offseason and the summer, like watch for that. But that's, at the same time, I understand the consistency question because most people are like, we want to, go to an alpha dog. sorry to tell folks, Bryce Williams isn't walking through that door. There's not a guy.
Tearing it up in Motor City, by the way.
He is. Wild he didn't get a two-way, by the way. Wild he didn't at least get a two-way. But there's not a guy. I think you know who they want to draw up stuff for late game. You can probably guess. You can probably assume. But I don't know if there's a guy who right now I'm like, I know that's who I want with the ball in his hand to go make a play, because so much of it, like you said, is jump shooting, and so much of it is just like welcome to living by and dying by the three, because that's the Nebraska basketball experience right now.
Matt chimes in again, and this will probably about wrap us up here. He says, when the threes aren't falling, got to get actions going to the hoop. They did that late last night, and that's what settled Nebraska and got them the win. Yes, basketball 101, great in theory, but how did Nebraska get to the rim? It wasn't with Jamarcus Lawrence break it down. It was getting out in transition with the Frager and one to push it back to 10. And it was off of Rink Mass initiating in the high post and Price Sanford curling.
Yep.
That's where they went to. Sanford is a pretty good finisher at the rim. Not the strongest guy, but he's got the angles. He's crafty. He's got a little bit of spunk to him too. He's not afraid to take it downhill. I mean, even the dunk he had against Oklahoma kind of looked like the Cooper flag on Drake Powell one from last year in Chapel Hill, right? Price Sanford can get downhill off of action. Rink Mass in the right matchup can, but
Frager's got the athleticism. He's shown us the flashes of the athleticism,
but does he have the
handle? But the handle and the polish, and he's not, not
in the head down.
He's still. You see how raw he still is. You see both ends. You see the flashes of this is what they want him to be with. That's a freshman who reclassified, and this should be his true freshman season, and that's no slide or shade to Braden Frager. If you think it is, I will refer you to my Twitter for the last 6 months. But it's there's give and take with all of this, and
Sam Hoiberg's a walking paint touch, which both Nebraska and its opponents welcome.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
It's a funky team. It's not going to be consistent. It will be what it is.
Yeah.
Nebraska, Kansas State tonight, championship of the Hall of Fame Classic, and that will do it for us. Jacob, as always, appreciate making the drive.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man. Always good to ramble and talk a little ball. So appreciate you having me.
This will be the last episode for a while.
I know.
You boys head out on paternity.
I know.
So I will be here on Monday, and then I'm out of here for a couple weeks. So I'll be back for Nebraska, Wisconsin.
Perfect timing.
Which, by the way, oh boy, BYU got essentially a true home game. And Wisconsin did not look the part, but talk about cockroaches. That's how I view Greg Gard.
Yeah, more on that later.
Anyways, big thanks to Jacob Bigelow. Find him on Twitter, Jacob A. Bigelow. I'm Austin Oerman on Twitter at Austin_Oerman. And you are you. Appreciate the engagement. Appreciate you tuning in. We will do it again sooner than later.
This is your year to win way more than bragging rights. At Warhorse Casino, your love of the game could earn you serious cash. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with cash prizes all season long, like up to $1,000 weekly, with your chance at $1 million, all while earning tier points and comp points every time you place a sports bet. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Imagine starting your day with a computer glitch that leaves you feeling stuck, frustrated, and unable